Something that was a major realization for me, and it shouldn't have been, but it was, is that for students coming into grade 9, this isn't different having a mixed class. So a lot of teachers were like, oh, the students, how will they handle this? And it'll be so different. It's not so different for them, it's different for us.
Having to teach in the way that we've had to teach means that CRRP is much more of a focus. It means that differentiation is much more of a focus. Those are things, and it means that student voice is much more of a focus.
When I see what my students want to read and what they want to write about, I really learn about them in a much more deep and complex way. I learn about their interests, I learn about their culture, I learn about, what really works for them and what doesn't through their choice.
So we use a lot of diverse text that reflects student identities and interests.
I also like to create as many entry points as possible. So rethinking some of the activities that I already have that can just be scaled back to include more of a bridge to their prior knowledge.
The curriculum is a guideline and can be massaged to accommodate the needs of the students in the class while maintaining, if not raising, standards and expectations.
So that they came in and they thought right away, this teacher has high expectations of me, seemed to make them feel motivated.
We know that when there are high expectations, it brings out the best in us. And academic only classes brings out the best in those students, and it's not magic.
That caring relationship between teacher and student is also really important. It's not just high expectations. It's that I try to support them as much as I can on the way to that.
But they're only going to get there if they have a teacher champion, right? Someone who believes and actually won't, failure's not an option.
It's important to make sure that we're not privileging a certain type of learner, because I think for a long time, especially in math, we privilege learners that can just recite algorithms and just repeat the steps.
There was a student who really didn't want to be an academic. He said, "Miss, this is too hard. I don't want to do this." But that student is now this year in grade 12 university English.
It's easier in terms of classroom management for me as a teacher.
I always loved my applied classrooms. They were very relationship focused, but they were, there was a lot more, it was raucous in there.
Failure rates have definitely not skyrocketed as some doomsayers, and there were plenty predicted. In fact, we've had a very low failure rate, and I think it's even lower than in the past.
All that mixed grouping promotes better work habits, it promotes engagement. I see students that I know in a different space wouldn't do the things they're doing right now. We just finished a Raisin in the Sun today, and students are like, they're saying things like, "Oh, I love that. That was so good. It was really layered."
I have had some students come to me and say, "You know what, Miss, this is the first time I'm really understanding math, and I feel like I'm finally caught up."
I literally have students in the middle of silent reading, yelling at their book because they're so excited. Telling a character in their book while everyone else is quiet, no, don't do that. That has actually happened on a number of occasions.
Without the amount of money that we got for the time release to redo the curriculum, to talk, to collaborate.
Teacher to librarian, teacher to special education teacher.
To study together, to plan together, to programming together, to reach out to parents together.
To recreate the entire course from beginning to end. There's no way we could have done this.
It's an opportunity to revisit your practice, right? How stuck am I sometimes? And some people "Oh, but how will this work?" It's then throw it out, make a new thing, right? And if we all work together, then it's going to be awesome.
I actually think it's some of the most exciting and interesting teaching that I've ever done. I realized I had all these little gatekeeper notions in my head, and letting them go, some of them have actually made teaching so much more fun.
The research shows that there are inequities in the system.
What lies especially close to my heart is the demographic data that shows that race and disability are determining factors in student placement in academic or applied streams, and therefore they impact students along those lines, again, not just in high school, but for the rest of their lives.
I teach with a motivation of, racial and economic justice. That's my motivation for where I teach and what I teach and how I teach.
And during this time, I think it's so important for us to listen to communities. And what many Black and Indigenous communities are telling us is that, academic streaming is a form of violence.
What keeps me going is the moral imperative. And then what keeps me going after that is the constant success stories. They're there. Every day there's a victory.
I would say to anyone who's kind of on the fence about this or feeling concerned, for as much as I'm saying there are challenges, the rewards are so much greater.